So let me ask you a question. How are your insecurities showing up in your relationship? I mean, how are you dealing with your relationships? Or are you a very secure person and insecurities hardly ever show up in your life, in your relationship? So I am really just wondering how relationships affect you. If you can be completely honest with yourself, then please let me know down in the comment section below, because here's the thing. Insecurities plague all of us at some point in our lives at different instances, and whenever it affects your life, it is going to affect some part of your relationship. So say for instance, you have had an issue with a lot of breakups, and you can never figure out what these breakups are about. You've never talked to your exes. Only thing you know is that you keep getting ghosted, and or a breakup happens after a period of time. So it could be that your insecurities are kicking in and you are dumping these men for whatever reason, right? But it could just be that you are also being dumped or ghosted, or nobody's calling you back because of the way that you are showing up. Maybe you are constantly trying to check the phone, right? Or maybe you're asking for passwords, or maybe you're standing over the shoulder, or maybe you're always saying, where you going, who you gonna be with, call me, let me know, check in at the location, etc. So your insecurities can show up at any point in time. And I have to say that your insecurities come from those things that have triggered you and or your past traumatic experiences. Now, I did a pretty in-depth video about that, and so if you want to check that out, definitely I will link it up above and in the comment section below, so you can go ahead and click on that video and figure out how your triggers are destroying your relationship in the form of your past traumatic experiences. But your insecurities could come from there for sure, but it also could just come from you not being as confident in who you are, and you may have even outwardly your self-esteem looks like it's on 1,000, but inwardly you know deep down inside that you suffer from low self-esteem. So instead of dealing with your stuff, you have a tendency to wear the nicest things, the nicest car, the nicest everything, but deep down inside you have low self-esteem. And so whenever you do get into a relationship, this is when the person, your partner, your significant other, can see your insecurities surface, because all of us can put on a front for a period of time, but as the relationship gets deeper and it starts to mature, your insecurities can surface. And unfortunately, this is why a lot, or I should say one of the reasons, not this, right, but this is one of the top reasons why there are a lot of attractive women out there that are single. Their insecurities keep showing up. And so I want to talk to you about your insecurities and where they're coming from and why they are there. So the insecurities can be, you can be anxious, right? Your insecurities can show up in the form of you being unsure. Your insecurities can show up in the form of you lacking confidence, right? Which is what I meant. So low self-confidence, low self-esteem, even though outwardly you look sexy, you look beautiful, you look like you got the world and men eating out of the palm of your hand, but secretly deep down inside you are struggling with you being very secure in who you are. And I remember talking to a girlfriend of mine, actually, very beautiful, and I remember having to speak life into her because she didn't or wasn't able to take in how beautiful she actually is, not only on the inside but actually outwardly. She's very beautiful, and she had a hard time even taking the compliment from me, a woman, let alone being able to take the compliment sincerely from a man. And so we have to be able to work on ourselves and building up our self-esteem and our self-confidence, because if not, it doesn't matter how beautiful you are outwardly, you will not be able to keep a man once you get him, because you are not very secure in who you are and what you're actually bringing to the table. Another way that insecurities can come into your life is that they can turn a healthy relationship into a toxic one, because again, you're not secure in who you are. So because you're not secure, you're also bringing your insecurities onto your man as well by, again, some of the things that I brought up earlier. Maybe asking for passwords, asking for them checking in every moment, every waking moment that you two are apart, or wondering why you can't always be together. So becoming or showing up as a very clingy person or a very clingy woman, right? And so none of that is sexy to the opposite sex, because the truth of the matter is a lot of men avoid getting into relationships because their autonomy kind of seems to go away. And so if you can allow the man to be to have his autonomy while in a relationship with you, as well as building a beautiful relationship together, then you guys can have a really beautiful relationship, right? And so you don't have to worry about your insecurities. But a lot of men avoid relationships because of what they feel like they're going to lose versus what they're going to gain. And so if you can be secure, if your self-esteem is on 1,000 or 1,010, right, then he is not going to really worry about his autonomy being lost, or i.e. his sense of freedom being lost, because you know exactly who you are. You know exactly your worth. You know exactly that you are enough. And if he cannot see it, then that's his issue, not yours. If and when you know that this relationship is not what you need, then you will walk away. That's how confident that you are, and you will not just put up with anything just because, or just to say that you have a part of a man. So if he brings a deal breaker to the table for you, that is not something that you're gonna put up with, and he understands that he either has to bring it or he needs to move on with his life when dealing with a woman like you, right? So your insecurities can show up when you encounter your triggers, which is something that I mentioned before, right? So I did a whole video about your triggers, and so if you want to go and check that out to figure out the deep parts of your triggers and why you're being triggered and what you need to do, because they're really past traumatic experiences showing up in the form of your triggers, where now you have the fight, flight, or freeze automatic response happening within your body, then go ahead and check out that video. I talk about it a lot more in there, but absolutely your insecurities can show up from you being triggered. Another thing that happens with your insecurities, they can be caused by you comparing yourself with your partner's exes. Now, I have no idea why you would need to compare yourself with your partner's exes. However, I have seen this before. I had a client many years ago at this point, and I remember her comparing herself to her partner's exes. And what I remember her saying is that, I mean, he probably does like the other women better than me because he's used to dating models and I'm not a model. And I'm like, well, he knew that you weren't a model when y'all first got together. So sis, stop it. Like, she was beautiful on the outside, but again, her insecurities in this form, comparing herself because she wasn't a model, and her, actually at that point, he was her husband. I don't know if they're still married or not because we don't talk anymore. But I was just like, child, stop it. Like, okay. And just because he dated models don't mean that all of those models had it going on. They might have the physique, but again, they might be just as insecure as you. I mean, but anywho, all I'm saying is that anytime you compare yourself to somebody else, or your relationship to somebody else's relationship, you will always be on the losing end of the stick. Always, always, always. There is nothing that you're going to gain from comparing yourself to somebody else's relationship, let alone somebody else's exes. Because here's the thing, sis. They are exes for a reason. They are exes for a reason. That relationship didn't go the distance or the long haul for a reason. So why compare yourself to somebody that he's not even with anymore? He actually chose you to be with because you two are in the relationship. So now why don't you see yourself as being the prize and not the ex? It's just something to think about. Just something to think about, because it is something that I don't ever want you to believe that you are not beautiful, or that you are just not enough because of who he dated before. Because again, that relationship didn't last for a reason, and it could be his own insecurities, right? It could be a plethora of things. Really, it doesn't matter why him and his ex is not together. You are now in that spot, and so whether you choose to stay there or not is your choice. But it's not because, well, shoulders all slumping, you kind of down. Well, I mean, he chose me, but he used to dating models. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Put that chest back. Stop it. Like, understand who the F you are, okay? And own who you be. Don't let these insecurities get in the way of you creating the relationship that you want, because that's exactly what is happening when you're going down that road of comparison. Now, absolutely, some of our insecurities come from our past. Again, I mentioned the traumatic past, right? And that's where a lot of our insecurities came from. I mean, personally, if you've been on my channel for any amount of time, then you heard me talk about my chocolate skin, how I got teased and everything. And yeah, that was one of my biggest insecurities that I had, and where I would go back to that same story over and over and over again. The guy must not have liked me because I was too dark, I was too black, or I was too whatever, right? And that was my own story that I kept playing on my own record over and over and over again. And one day I had to realize, Marshawn, he saw how chocolate you were when y'all first started dating. So maybe it's not your chocolate skin. Maybe it is your insecurities coming up, and the only thing that you can see is your chocolate skin, because you believe that everybody is looking at your chocolate skin as a bad thing, when in fact you were chosen. You were chosen. You also chose him. It didn't work out, but you were still chosen. So right, put them shoulders down, sit up straight. You it, ma'am. But I had to believe that myself. Nobody else could feed that to me and me believe it if I didn't first believe it myself. Because have you ever noticed, whenever you tell somebody, and I just talked about this with a friend of mine, and I was saying how beautiful she actually is, but she couldn't receive the compliment. And anytime you give a person that you believe is beautiful, inside and out or outwardly, right, and they can't receive the compliment, it's because they don't truly believe that they are beautiful. And that's actually a sad thing. It's a sad thing, because if you don't believe it, how in the heck do you think somebody else is going to believe it for you? All of these things that we want out of life, and what we can actually create, we have to believe it before we see it. And so if me, never tell myself that I am beautiful, why would I expect some guy to come, or even my husband to come and say how beautiful I am? I don't even believe I'm beautiful. And so we have to really get our insecurities under control if we want to create these beautiful relationships and marriages. Because if you don't, you will not get to the next level in your love life ever, if you don't get your insecurities under control. Because as I just mentioned, your insecurities can make a healthy relationship become toxic. So you got to deal with your insecurities. The last and final thing that I want to say is that insecurities have to do with a lack of self-esteem. It really does, right? Because some people fake the self-confidence, but it can show up later on, which is what I was talking about. So in the beginning, you find you're sexy, right? And then y'all get into the relationship, and then all of a sudden your insecurities come up where you're super clingy. You don't ever want him to leave. You're asking him to text all the time. You're trying to check his devices and computer, and looking on his social media, constantly kind of quote unquote stalking him a little bit. And so I'm going to give you a few signs of insecurity, and then we're going to wrap this up. All right. So rock with me. The first sign that you have insecurity is that you fear losing your partner or your spouse. The second sign of insecurities could be your controlling behavior. So whatever you deem to be controlling behavior, that is a sign of you being an insecure person. A really secure person needs to allow the control to just roll off their shoulders, roll off their chest, because the truth of the matter is you cannot control anyone but yourself. That's it. Even our children, even the children that we give life to, we cannot control our children. In the beginning, we believe that we can, because they do what we say as the parent. But in reality, when we're not around, they're still doing whatever the heck they want to do. And even think about yourself. Like, even when my mom calls me and she has to give me her opinion, I get it as her being my mom, but at the end of the day, when I hang up that phone, I'm still going to do what I want to do. I'm showing her respect in the moment. That does not mean that I have to agree with what she is saying, nor do what she says. And your children are doing the exact same thing to you. So you cannot control anybody, and this definitely cannot control your spouse or partner. So your controlling behaviors are really a sign of you being a very insecure person. The third way that you know that you are that your insecurities are showing up is demanding access to the gadgets. I kind of brought that up earlier, but if you are demanding access to the gadgets, then absolutely you are an insecure person, and your insecurities are showing up in this form. Now, if your spouse or partner doesn't willingly give you access, you cannot demand it. And again, once you start demanding something, do you really believe that it's going to be that easy for you to get access, whether your partner is doing something or not? If somebody was demanding something from me and that I didn't willingly want to give them, there's no way I'm giving it to you. I don't care who you are. So trust me, your spouse is thinking the same thing, whether they are guilty of something or not. You will never really know the truth, because there's no way in hell that they are giving you access to it when you are demanding access to it. There's just no way it's happening. The fourth way to find out that you are that your insecurities are showing up is obsessively checking his social media. Like, literally, get you a life, get you some hobbies. And here's the thing, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but if you need to sit down and check social media consistently, trying to get into his gadgets and trying to figure out his passwords when he's not around, child, you in the wrong relationship. Coupled with the fact that you shouldn't be in a relationship, because you don't know how to handle being in an adult relationship, because adults don't do that. And I don't mean adult by your age. I mean people that are really mature. That's really what I'm talking about. Your maturity level. Mature adults are not sitting around trying to figure out passwords and access to gadgets and constantly looking on social media. Those people are very secure. Insecure people are the ones that are doing these things. So we just got to check ourselves. The last and final way that your insecurities are showing up is that your need for constant assurance or reassurance. You're beautiful. Come on, you look good in that dress. No, you don't look fat. I mean, you listen. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Smile, you're beautiful. Like, always gotta reassure you the shit. You can do it. That is exhausting. You have to do that for yourself first before you ever think that you're gonna get it from somebody else. Speak life into yourself. Figure out the things that you like to do and go and do those things so you can build up your self-esteem, so you don't have to worry about your insecurities coming along. Deal with your traumatic past experiences. Deal with your triggers. If you have not watched the video, go ahead and watch that video so you can get a deeper understanding of why I'm so passionate about deal with your stuff. Deal with your stuff, because otherwise you will never get the relationship that you want. I am Marshawn Alanio, your favorite shift relationship strategist, where I help Black Christian women that are married or in long-term relationships to stop feeling disconnected and unloved and shift you to feeling heard, understood, and appreciated. If you need some help, there are some links down in the description box below. There are plenty of links. There is a quiz down there. There is a way for you to get in contact with me to get a 20-minute free coaching conversation, and a few other links down there. Go ahead and click the description box below and get in contact with me if you want some help with dealing with your insecurities, dealing with your triggers, as well as trying to help you at least a tiny bit through your past traumatic experiences, because that is not my specialty. I can at least help you a tiny bit, but absolutely go get the help that you need so you can create the love life that you want. All right, I will see you guys, and I love you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Bye-bye.